In your life, do you prioritize the spiritual or the physical? Do you prioritize the spiritual or the physical? What do you find yourself focusing on the most or first? Spiritual or the physical? The church gives us a time for preparation for Christmas and wants us to focus on the spiritual first, remind us of what comes first. This is Gaudete Sunday. Gaudete means rejoice in Latin, and it marks a midway point until Christmas. Why is it a rose-colored candle? Because that is the color of the sky in the morning when it's a clear, sky, and even when the sun starts to come up, but isn't up yet, but it's almost there. The sky is rose-colored. So even in the midst of darkness, even when we're losing that light every day at this time of the year, church reminds us that God came into the darkness to give us his light. And when you think about it, especially at night, of course, when you see the brilliance of the stars and the moon, you can only see that because it's dark, right? And so you need that dark background in order for the light to be seen. I was reminded that when I was in Alaska for my first assignment as a priest that it was cold. It got like the high for 2 days straight in January was minus 42. That was the high. That was without wind chill. That was a little chilly. But the good thing about being in Fairbanks would be you could see this at night at times. The Northern Lights, or the Aurora Borealis. And so I remember one night, it was minus 30, and I was just laying in the snow, watching God's show in the night. And for the most part, it's light green. When that happens, it's mostly light green. Sometimes, it's a real good show, it's purple, magenta, pink, and different colors. But you can only see that because it's dark. Sometimes in our life, the Lord allows darkness to happen or dryness to happen in order to see the light, but in order for good fruit to come about, there needs to be some dryness at times. And so we have that imagery of the Isaiah. The desert, the parched land will exult. The steppe will rejoice and bloom with abundant flowers, and rejoice with joyful song. In a desert, I found this one image. You have the dry desert there. And because of the dryness, when a rain happens, instantaneously, flowers bloom, just with a little bit of rain. But that can only happen when when it's dry. Sometimes the Lord permits dryness or darkness in our light, because then we can truly see the light and the vegetation that comes forth. Okay, let's stay on this nature imagery. We hear from the second reading from James, using the imagery of farmers. And so since we're in farmland, still predominantly in this area, that the farmer has to wait for the rain, has to be the right soil, has to be the right temperature. The farmer can't control all those stuff, and so they have to be patient to wait upon that. In a similar way, we have to be patient as well. We can't control everything that happens to us and to our families and to our culture. But the Lord does promise us that good fruit will come about, that light will come about even when there is darkness, but we have to wait for it. We have to be patient. And we have to be present. And so what we've been focused on this Advent is this theme. Make this Christmas all about the presence. Not the physical presence, but the spiritual presence. For us to be present to God in prayer, to us to be present to each other, to us to be present to our family and to our neighbor. Last week, I focused on family, how we can be present to our family. This week, I'm going to focus on how can we be present to our church family, to our local church. And I was thinking about this, when I was growing up there, what did my parents do for my sisters and I to raise us in the faith? And a constant was, it's Sunday, and so Sunday you go to church. There's no debate. Okay, should we go to church or not? I don't know. It's a nice day. Maybe we'll just hang out in nature. Nope. No debate. It's Sunday, you go to church. We tried to go earlier sometimes. Early for us would be the 9 a.m. Mass. That'd be early. We tried that once. It was like, yeah, that's too early. So like our normal was at 10 or 10:30. Maybe it was 11:15. Could have been 12. I forget it. But so that's how we always went. If we couldn't go for some reason on Sunday, we went Saturday night. That was just, what you did. And my parents, they made sure we all got the sacraments. I found this picture of me recently in the old church. We grew up in St. Thomas the Apostle. I'm not sure what the occasion was, but here's my grandmother, my mom's mom, and my dad's mom right behind her. And there's Uncle Mandu giving the stare that a lot of you give when I give my homily. And it seems like, but anyway. So, now Uncle Mandu, he was a good Italian, never married, good faithful. And he would give money, actually, each year to my parents so they can help us go to Catholic school because we couldn't totally afford it. And so he found out about it, and he gave us, my parents, some money every year so that'd be possible. And so that was one way in which we were raised in the faith, through Catholic school or through religious education, through faith formation. That's how we grow in the faith, through Mass every Sunday. That's, it's good that we have different programs or schools, Catholic schools, great. That we have faith formation, religious ed, great. But the best way to be formed is Sunday Mass, every Sunday, every Saturday night. That's the best formation. Nothing else replaces that. Here's another picture of confirmation. So that was Janae in the middle, was confirmed there. We do 6th grade in Philadelphia. And I think I was in 7th grade there as an altar server. And I was definitely rocking the glasses and the braces at that point. So, that looks interesting. It looks like I almost have a collar on. But that was one way in which my parents encouraged me to be present to the local church community, was to be an altar boy, an altar server. It was in that church, that old church, it was the first time that I was an altar server. I remember my first Mass that I served, I had to leave. My parents actually had to take me out because I almost passed out. And because I was like, I don't think I had breakfast and everything, so I was nervous. So that was my first time being an altar server. But I think I persevered through it. To be present. We at that church is actually the oldest parish in the Philadelphia Archdiocese. It was started in 1726, the parish. Before it was a building in 1850 that was consecrated by St. John Newman. It was first a church family. When we say church, church comes from a Greek, it's connected to Greek, ecclesia, which means assembly. It doesn't mean building, it means assembly, when they assemble together. That is a true meaning of church. Even if we didn't have this building, we'd still be a church when we would have to have Mass outside. If there's some reason we could have like a building, we would still do Mass somewhere, someplace, someone's home. Well, probably not someone's home these days, but we're a little bit too big now. But that's how that parish started, was in the Wilcox family home. And the missionaries would come through, the Jesuits, and they would do Mass in that home. The Wilcox family, they had the paper mill. I like to think that they may have given paper to Benjamin Franklin. Maybe, it's possible. But it first started as a church community in someone's home. I came across this phrase. It said, Jesus didn't found a hospital at the beginning. Even though he healed everybody and helped, as we're reminded in the first reading in the gospel, and St. John the Baptist was reminded. Great. But the physical is not the priority. The physical healing showed that something else was happening internally, because all those people that were cured physically, really none of them showed up when you needed them the most at the cross. So the physical healings happen, but a lot of times we even forget to keep on coming back to God even when we're healed. The physical comes after the spiritual. Spiritual first. Do we make the spiritual first in our life? Do we put God first before anything else? That's what my parents instilled in myself and my sisters. And we may be at different parts in our life and our faith, and that's where we're at. If you're raised in the faith and you just go to Mass Sunday, great. You're still in that habit, great. If you were still coming to that habit recently, awesome. If you maybe have fallen away from that habit and trying to redo it, great. If you're watching my live stream and you can come to Mass, we'd love to have you. Or if you're, I know others are watching from different states because they like to be connected here, thank you. But is there a local church that we can be connected to as well? We're all called to be part of a church family. I'll end with this little story. Sports people. Do you know who the leader is in steals in NBA history? Steals and assists. So 2 categories. He probably won't be broken, the record. Steals and assists. I think I heard it. John Stockton. John Stockton has a leader, by a lot, is a leader. But even though he had to go from state to state, he never missed Mass on Sunday. Because he said to organization, the Utah Jazz, I need to make it to Mass every Sunday or Saturday night. And so they would have to divert the planes sometimes or to make sure they went earlier so he can get to Mass. But it wasn't just him, because he made that effort, and then other teammates and coaches came with him as well because of that example. I remember one time, I think this is the case, I didn't verify with my parents, but I think that one time when I was goalie for soccer team, and we did a travel tournament, we went to the Poconos, and I believe either we missed Mass or we're going to miss Mass because of the schedule. And we just weren't thinking about it. We just assumed we'd be able to go to Mass. But the coach, didn't make that a priority, and I think some parents forgot. And after that weekend, I remember my parents saying to us and saying to the coach, hey, that can't happen again. We have to make sure that our kids get to Mass. So however that happens, can we do the same as well? Put the spiritual first, above sports, above coaches, above, whatever we like to do on Sunday or Saturday night. Because God put you and me first. That's why he came to us in his littleness at Bethlehem, so he could be on the cross with his cross and resurrection, because he put you and me first, the spiritual above anything else. Let's ask the Lord for the grace to renew that love of him and put him first, and make sure that we allow our souls to be watered every week by the Eucharist, by the Scriptures, and we need each other. We need to pray for each other and with each other. Let's renew that love and be present to one another.